Alright, we're talking about 2016's favorite anime to hate and love, Erased. It's been a while since I've seen the show. My brother and I just started watching it because he had never seen it, and boy do we love ourselves some mysteries that start off really well, but maybe fall apart towards the ending. Nonetheless, watching the show I'm quickly reminded by why I thought the show was so good, and if anyone wanted to try writing a mystery, they should really start taking notes. You see, Erased is a show that works with the obvious. I feel like a lot of mystery narratives are solved by the main character working with the information the audience doesn't know, or the reveal of the killer or murderer is normally unexpected for the sake of subversion, and there's nothing wrong with that most of the time. Subversion and character-specific information can be powerful tools, but they don't inherently make a good mystery. The strength of Erased is that it relies on the fact that they dangle who the killer is right in front of you. Because from the very first episode, all the audience knows is it's a middle-aged man in a dark suit with a specific dark crimson gleam in his eyes. And the episode after, when we see Yashiro, he's an adult in a dark suit with a very stark red tie. You know, in hindsight, it's so obvious you would almost think it's bad. Almost. Like I said, Erased is a show that works with the audience and the information itself that's being presented to Satoru and the audience. And in that manner, the most brilliant way Erased presents that information is our list of suspects. Everyone who could be the killer is introduced in the second episode, and the opening ensures that we always know who's under investigation, with the flashing headshots of the characters. So we always know when we watch the show who we're supposed to be suspecting, and we're not sure who to trust. Even though Yashiro appears so obviously to me now, everyone else on the suspect list could just as easily have been the killer, because the show allows each of the characters on the suspect list to be seen as suspicious. And before people go off about how they always knew who the killer is, sure, okay, fine. 1, the drama in this show is good enough that it doesn't totally matter. And 2, I'm sure for everyone who says they knew it all along, there are people who are mind blown by the reveal. So yeah, I get it. Just because things are too predictable and they knew it all along, to me, it does seem besides the point sometimes. Regardless, Erased list of suspects is not big. Looking at the headshots in the opening, there are 6 people, but in reality it's not going to be the manager or Sachiko's co-worker, so in reality there are only 4. Yuki, Yashiro, Kaio's mother, and Kenya. These 4 people are the most clearly designed to enact suspicion in Satoru, but in the audience too. Yuki, because he was the one who was convicted of the murder. Kaio's mother is a clear suspect because she abused and harassed Kaio. Yashiro for the list of reasons we already went over, and Kenya because, as is pointed out by Satoru, he has always seemed a bit ambivalent in comparison to the rest of his friends. And each of these 4 people are treated like the suspects with 3 different techniques. First off, the camera work. Every single time one of these characters enter the scene, the camera oddly focuses on them and follows their movements. It's as if the camera itself is aware of our suspicions and is allowing us to fully interpret the meaning of their dialogue and body language. Especially when the shot is them looking down at Satoru, which of course makes sense given his childlike stature, but also acts as the sinister presence that makes us a little uneasy whenever they're on screen together. The second one being the motif of eyes. Focusing on the eyes of the character is a big thing in this show, and the fact that in the opening all their eyes being shaded over and blocked from our vision casts some doubt into their true nature, and the red tint and glare that acts as our only warning in the face of true maliciousness. Each of the characters' eyes carry a distinct look that doesn't blend together and gets you questioning their authenticity. And lastly, and probably most importantly, the balance of light and dark in their color schemes. I can talk to no end but the color in this show and the fact that it really only uses 5 colors, but nonetheless, each of these 4 characters are shown to be wearing a mixture of light and dark. Kenya with his jacket and turtleneck, Yuki with his vest and shirt, Kaio's mother with her sweater and pants, and Yashiro with his suit and undershirt. Each of these characters wear these stark, differentiating colors because, quite honestly, it befits their untrustable nature. Are they actually as kind and misunderstood as their lighter color palette? Or are they truly dark and evil as shown by their other colors? And them wearing both allows that dichotomy of their motivations to exist, and they are the only characters with this defining feature. And that's it. The show mixes up these techniques to arouse suspicion out of each of the characters. Each of them are given an equal amount of screen time, with maybe the exception of Kaio's mother, who gets a lot, to instill a sense of fear in the audience. And if you notice closely, None of them managed to strike all three of these things, with the exception of Yashiro. The camera focuses a lot on Yuki, but in scenes with Satoru he's normally down on his level, and despite his color palette, he's normally in a stark white outfit, and he's never seen with a red glint in his eyes. And the same with Kenya. While sporting a black turtleneck and acting as a bit more mature, he also never falls victim to the glint of violence. Kaio's mother is a bit of a difficult case as she nearly hits all three of these strikes. She constantly has a red glint of violence with her abuse, the camera constantly depicts her in this vile and fear-inducing angle, and her outfit is a mixture of light and dark. But in there lies the key. She still has a lighter part of her palette. You see, Yashiro doesn't have light and dark. Of course, his undershirt looks lighter than his dark suit, but upon closer inspection, his undershirt is just dark gray. There is no light to him. He is all dark, another obvious indicator that he's the true killer, along with plenty of shots of him looking down on Satoru and the scarlet of his red tie, and how he always seems to emerge from the shadows. But the show smartly never treats Yashiro as anything more than another suspect. But it still allows all these clues to stay in place. All of these clues and indicators are there, and this is what I mean when I say that ERASED is a show that lives in the obvious. Each of these warning signs are hung right in front of us the whole show, so it doesn't cheapen the reveal scene even if you knew who it was. And that's why I think the beginning of this show is so good, because it mixes up these techniques to keep the audience guessing. There's never a scene that feels too blatant into one character, and because it introduces all the characters at once, it means everyone who watches has an equal chance of figuring out who the killer is. Nonetheless, there's still a lot of breadcrumbs that are obvious indicators to lead you to who the killer's real identity is. So say what you want about the ending, I personally think that it falls apart isn't something new or unique to this show, but most media. But I think there's something great about the way this show invites intrigue and thought and never leads you down just one line of questioning. Because it never pulls some supernatural nonsense with other revivals or last second reveals, the mystery will always feel earned and satisfying. But for now, that's all I got. Thank you for liking and sharing, and I'll see you next time.